Welcome back to Deep Dive. Stephen here with my co-host, Crispina.
Hello, everyone. Okay, Steve, you drive quite often, right?
That's right, almost every day.
Okay, so what are your pet peeves?
I'm a driven man.
Okay. What are your pet peeves when it comes to driving?
Usually people cutting into my lane, but most of all, it's when people, when I give way to people, they come in and there's no appreciation. There's no just a little wave to say thank you or nothing, no acknowledgement.
Yes.
That gets my goat.
Exactly. Somebody just told me that they don't even raise their hand to acknowledge that you've given them way.
Exactly.
Okay, so I try not to drive, partly because of environmental reasons. But the truth is, when I drive, it makes me quite angry.
Okay.
Yeah,
because... So how angry? Like, do you...
No, as
all
in
the
I
colourful words come out?
No. I just get very stressed on Singapore roads. If I'm 2 seconds off and somebody's honking, if I signal to filter, they speed up.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
I know.
Yeah. So I try my best not to drive.
Anyone who drives in Singapore will have their own stories to tell. And most of our pet peeves are just that, It's actually not the major stuff. It's the minor irritations that irk you. Sometimes there are deadly consequences. In fact, for 131 families in 2023, a traffic accident took away their loved ones. So that was pretty severe.
That was. In fact, 2023 was quite a bad year as far as traffic accidents went. You mentioned 131 accidents involving someone dying. This was higher than 2022 when it was 104 cases. When I was reading through the stats, two groups were quite vulnerable, according to the traffic police: elderly and motorcyclists. So their fatality rates seem to be quite high, and that's quite scary, right? If you have an elderly parent or someone in your home who rides a bike.
Yeah, and even if we don't look at just deaths, the total number of traffic accidents involving injuries last year stood at 6,944. So if you average it out, it's almost about 20 accidents each day.
So what's causing this is the focus of our discussion in this episode.
Okay, let's start talking about, the way we drive on our roads. And speeding is one of those where most drivers here go fast. If we look at the traffic police figures, speeding related activities for accidents, they actually fell from 1138 in 2022 to 624 in 2023. Now, the numbers may have dropped, but fatal accidents involving speeding, that's actually gone up. TP said that in 3 weeks since cameras were installed in accident-prone areas, 800 violations were detected. So, do you guys notice that people are always in a rush? If you're on the rightmost lane on the expressway, even if you're going at the speed limit, people are flashing you, saying get out of the way. Even in areas where the speed limit is like 60, 70, people are going 90. Right.
In fact, I have this early in the morning today. 3 of them.
Okay.
I just signal, they will just speed right ahead and block me, It's unfortunate we have about 800 violation in a matter of about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It worked out to be about 26, 27 a day. It's quite a lot. But the thing is, the camera was only switched on the 1st of April, about 3 weeks ago. It will be possibly that those people who speed in those areas was not caught. And when the camera was on, before that. So when the camera was on, so all these regulars are being booked.
Why are we all going so much more than the speed limit?
One of the good reasons is people don't plan their routes when they go out. So when they find that they are being hold up in some traffic jams or roadblocks or the weather, they tend to want to catch up the time and speed. And this may be one of the reasons. Another reason is, those, I will call them regular speedster, who just want to speed because of excitement.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of these are mostly youngsters.
Even though the next traffic light is just 400 meters away.
Another point is that now we have EV cars. In fact, EV car pick up from 0 to 60 miles per hour is faster than the ICE car.
And ICE, you mean the combustion engine?
Combustion engine,
yeah.
I have to completely agree with what Bernard just said with regards to EVs. Can you imagine a regular internal combustion engine cars would probably go from 0 to 100 in, say, about average 9 seconds. It's half when it comes to electric vehicles. And if a 9-second car can cause an accident, can kill people, can you imagine the disaster that an EV can actually cause?
But EVs are still very small compared to ICE cars on
The
Singapore
number
roads
of,
right now.
in
Yeah,
terms of number of EVs
the
on the road.
percentage of cars are still quite low.
And
right?
it's more the challenge. We're not just talking about shooting off from the traffic light. We're talking about on the highways, you're
We're
going
even
fast
talking
already.
about in the car park sometimes.
Okay.
You know, when you're just going into the car park
Yep.
just to go park, and they're going at a faster than usual speed.
The point is, when somebody are driving fast on the road, other people will follow to keep up, so to speak.
Okay.
There could be another reason.
Okay, so if all
You
the
know?
cars are going fast already,
Yeah.
even though
So
I'm
what?
going at the speed limit, I feel
Yeah.
like, why am I so slow? Right?
Then everybody will look at you, bypass you. You find it a bit strange.
When I was studying overseas in countries like Canada, I mean, they're very strict with the speed limit. So much so that I never ever thought of speeding because I know I would get caught. In fact, I was pulled over once or twice, and given a warning for just going 7 kilometers over the speed limit. So they are very strict about it. Why are we not so strict here?
I don't think it's because we're not strict. I don't think government will want to be that unreasonable. I think, at the back of their minds, I don't think they want to be that unreasonable. If you're going 1 km above the speed limit, I come in and I slam you with a fine, summon, whatnot.
But there's a reason why a speed limit was set for that particular road, right? So
You see
either the
the-
speed limit is wrong, which
I
means you're
think
allowing
the police,
for
the
free play.
police go through a lot of details. When, for instance, somebody speed, when the police capture them on the camera, or what, they have to go back to the office. They got to download it. They will look at it to see whether there is sufficient evidence to charge the person. They don't simply take the camera, go to the, you speed, they charge you. So they look at all the evidence, the road environment maybe, and things like that, before they issue a summons. So when the summons is out, we receive it, Then again, people will go to the member of parliament to appeal. So all the rigmarole starts. So to issue a summons, the traffic police involve a lot of manpower. Therefore, they are not making it easy for anybody if they commit an offense because the road have to be safe for everybody.
Now, I want to pick up on the point that both of you made, right, about planning your journeys. I think most of us pretty much just drive from home to office or home to school. I mean, there are fixed routes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you already know how much time it takes. But perhaps because there's a lot of congestion, there's a lot of traffic jams, you become impatient, you don't want to wait. That has something to do with it?
So when you drive from point A to point B every day, you tend to, what do we call it, forget about the landmark. Maybe there's a school, maybe there's a traffic camera or whatever it is. You tend to just drive. So I was saying that with the ERP tool, they prompt you when there's a school zone, there's a silver zone, or where the traffic camera, or the so-called bus lane. So you tend to slow down.
A reminder.
There will be a reminder, drive carefully. So if you drive from one point to another without all this prompting, you may tend to so-called speed without knowing it, unintentionally.
Actually, I would argue it's the other way. In fact, I've memorized where all the traffic cameras are along my route, so
No,
I
but
know
doesn't
when
Waze-
exactly to slow down.
No, but doesn't Waze, the app, tell you that police camera up ahead?
No,
or,
but you don't
know,
use the
something?
app for routes that you're familiar with, right? You don't have to switch it on for every...
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know exactly which traffic light has a traffic camera.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm very sure to avoid speeding or running a red light.
I'm pretty sure I know where the cameras are in MCE.
Yeah. See?
So
You are a very safe driver.
I'm also because my car can't go very fast, so generally...
He drives an old car. So netizens basically say that we have a very bad driving culture. Okay. In fact, the traffic police identified these reasons why people get into accidents. Motorists don't keep a lookout. Okay, they are inattentive, I suppose. Drivers don't control their vehicles properly, and we change lanes without care. How do we cultivate these bad habits? Is it because we were not trained to drive properly, or we just don't care?
To answer your question, to give you an example, you will go to the mall when you go shopping. You can see all the culture. People will cut your lane. Somebody will trolley, walk slowly, they will jump your queue. You go to the road, it's exactly the same thing.
Which
So in the
mall
su-
are you
so
going
we're talking about in the
to?
supermarket, in the supermarket trolley, they will also
trolley.
overtake.
They will also
and,
overtake when they're busy. You know. So
Okay, the
on
mall
the
he's
road,
going to is very
on the road,
competitive.
on the road is about the same. That's why the culture comes in. When
Mm.
the culture in general happens
So you're
in our
saying we are a
society,
competitive
we're always
people.
rushing,
We're
We're always
always rushing.
competing.
Are we selfish? Which is why we don't give way?
it's a mindset.
Right.
So then the question is, are we teaching this in the driving schools? So like again, we compare to other countries, Australia, maybe, I know when I go there, I have to give way a lot more because it's just the norm, right? Here, it's even if it's one of those where you take turns to give way because there's a road construction or whatever. The cars will still try and squeeze in so that it can't be one for one. They're trying to block you out.
They're literally shaving off like few seconds, right?
When we pass our driving test, we are supposed to be skillful to drive. And after that, we never go for any other courses at all, right? And in overseas countries, for instance, you receive a summon on speeding, for instance. You may have to go for a course paid for yourself to attend a course. We may have to appeal to court and then use that as the mitigation factors. We don't have all this.
So are we too relaxed about it?
I think maybe it's time to have a review for those who have been driving for some time. Maybe they need to do a refresher course because a lot of highway code have changed. Right? In the old days, I used to drive on circles, road circles, and then a lot of them were demolished. And then now they bring back the circles in Newton and one others.
Roundabouts. you mean?
Roundabout. So a lot of people who would suddenly see this circle may not be able, the old people may not be able how to maneuver.
This came up in Parliament as well. Should we refresh, right? Should I go, for example, for defensive driving classes? Because, it's been a while. But the answer in Parliament was that there are people who've have licenses for 30 years and no incident.
Yeah.
So perhaps this, do you think, could be for people who get into, are picked up for speeding, are picked up for inconsiderate driving, etc.
I think some of these serious offences, they may have to go through a refresher course or go for a updated course for
That's
safety.
only if you get you hit your 24 demerit points. Then they'll ask you if you want to cut off some of the points so you can continue driving. You have
No,
to come
12
for a
points.
2-day
Like
class.
three
or something.
3
12
points off
points.
something.
12 points.
Or 12 points, you got to go
Yeah.
for a class, right?
If you get 24 points, it's too late.
Oh, okay,
You have to hand over your license.
Because I think I might have gotten that before.
Okay, yeah. Tell us about your experience, Julian.
Yeah, so I think I was invited back to TP for a course that I have to pay. I think they'll shave off 3 points, but because I didn't have time, so I accepted the full, penalty.
Branch of the law.
Yeah.
But in your lifetime, you're allowed 2 times. I understand.
Are these measures sort of strict enough to keep our drivers safe on the roads?
You see, the thing is, in 2019, we have increased our penalty. For instance, dangerous driving, killing somebody, 8 years jail. You will compare with other countries, I think we are quite comparable, together with our other offences. The enforcement can do up to a point. If the people continue to drive, not looking after themselves or even other road users, then the road will be unsafe.
Okay.
So no
At that
matter
point.
how harsh the law.
So the thing is, we have done a lot of education in that aspect to try and shape the mindset of, for instance.
But it doesn't seem to be working. I hate to say
What?
this. That's
Now-
why, we've just seen a recent spate of accidents in the last few months. Education, it's a key. We always say is the way to go. Teach the younger ones, yeah. But if everybody around me is driving like crazy anyway,
I wasn't taught to be patient when I was in driving school. I wasn't. But
What
I
were
think
you
it's
taught
really
to do?
park the car, do the usual stuff to get my license. I don't remember my instructor telling me, say, you have to be patient, you got to be this, you got to be that. I think these things were taught to myself as I accumulated experiences on the road, like different kinds of experiences on the road, close shaves especially. That I kind of realized that. So on one hand, I have to agree with Bernard. I think we are quite comparable in terms of punishment when it comes to Singapore versus the rest of the world, for instance. We are not the strictest, that's for sure, but I don't reckon we are the most lax as well. It really stems from the drivers, the attitude, the character, perhaps, when they are behind the wheel. I know of people who are really nice when they're not driving, but when they're behind the wheel, they're completely different people. You know, like
Yeah,
you're really
a lot of
completely
this.
different people. So I always say driving brings the worst out of people.
Yeah.
But is it because it's driving in Singapore? Look, when you're driving in New Zealand and Australia, are you like that?
Yeah, because maybe I'm unfamiliar with the roads.
No,
you
and
know?
also because if every other driver is nice, you kind of feel like, why am I being so aggressive, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Okay.
I guess.
You know what I mean?
So
the
it does
environment
boil down to
shape.
culture, right?
Different country, different. See, I drive all over the place. I drive in London. I do even drive in China, for that matter.
No, so do you agree
So-
that if the city is a busier city, drivers are more aggressive, you become a more aggressive driver.
Right.
If
I
everyone
totally
is
agree.
calm, then
Yeah,
right.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It's the behavior and also the people surrounding that environment.
Let me go to this other thing that was discussed, right? In a CNA commentary, two academics suggested that road design has something to do with it. So there are two parts. One is they say make it slow for people, especially around schools, towns where there are lots of elderly, have narrower roads, more markings, etc. I already see it actually in my estate, especially with schools and elderly crossings and stuff like that. This is very resource intensive, right? Do you want to do this, like have all these curbs and humps, etc., all over the place? Just to address some of these bad behaviors. Shouldn't it be more intrinsic that you should already slow down in these areas?
Few years ago, in fact, I went with the minister overseas to look at all these zones, silver zone, school zone. And a couple of years after that, we came back. We went to Japan, we went to South Korea. And we introduced this to the silver zone. Basically because it's to narrow down the road so that people cannot speed. In area where there's a lot of elderly people walking around.
Yeah.
And it helps because it reduces the accident rate. Then in the school zone, exactly the same thing. We do it the same thing.
Yeah, but we're saying you're creating the infrastructure to force
the
the
force
cars to slow
people.
down.
Yeah, the force.
But this is very resource intensive, right? Is it a practical way to go?
But every other developed country is doing it. So
But we can't
just
do
follow.
this on the expressways.
Of course you can't. So we hope that by doing that, this will spill over to the way.
Okay, so
they're
when you
being
force
used.
behavior, eventually
Yeah.
it will be part and parcel of your
Correct.
driving culture.
So you have to do something to let them try it out.
Right.
Like for instance, the silver zone used to be 40 km per hour. Now they reduce to 30. So I think internationally they have been tested. If you reduce to 30, the serious injury rate come down.
But at the end of the day, what we're asking is there any way we can solve this issue or at least bring down the numbers? Because people are still speeding and our behaviors don't seem to be changing.
Singaporeans are generally quite rule-abiding, right? Why don't they abide by these rules?
In a way, the penalties sound harsh enough. So back to the question of, are we enforcing it enough? Maybe in some cases. Tonight we'll set up roadblocks and then we'll catch a whole bunch, but it should be an ongoing, regular thing, right?
But it'll be also very resource intensive, for the police or the traffic police to be
It's
there
too
every
much
night, right?
manpower.
I mean, come to think about it, now that Bernard put it that way, I mean, I reckon having all these architectural changes just for people to slow down is very resource intensive, that's without a doubt. But if we cannot change the culture, if we can't educate them, then perhaps forcing them to change their behavior on the road will become a habit eventually. Is that really working? I honestly can't tell you if it is, but I suppose in some areas it'll work. Will it really drill into them that we should slow down whenever we need to? I don't quite.
As a result of all this accident recently, we formed a task force just last week to look into this. One thing we're going to do, we're going to put banners on the overhead bridge.
Okay. What's
To
on the
tell-
banner?
Probably tell people don't speed and things like that, We're going to give to within all the constituencies some banners. We have to so-called educate the public as fast as we can. Because the trouble, we're going to reach to everybody. The second thing we're doing, for instance, we can see penalties. You see, in the past, whenever there's a pedestrian crossing, somebody died. Nothing is there. So now what we do, we make a standee. We ask our people to put there to tell people this is a place you don't jaywalk.
standee like a cutout of a policeman. And I've seen some where they have the mechanical arm moving. So it works actually. From a distance, you see something and you start slowing down.
Usually when I see the sign, it's usually like a fatal accident took place here and there's a picture of some guy in a truck or a motorcycle. So maybe, you can make
But
it a lot
pedestrian, they're
more...
not. None for pedestrian. So what we are doing for pedestrian?
I see,
We're
I
just
see.
starting.
I think at the end of the day, it sounds like it really is about behavior change. I used to get really upset when driving about all these people cutting me. And then after a while, I realized I'm angry. But then when I drive by, the car who cut me off has no idea he cut me off. So he doesn't feel it at all. So why am I getting angry? It's a waste of energy. So now I just am very relaxed. I'm like, cut me off. It's okay. I'll see you at the next traffic light anyway. So, and with that in mind, I dare say I'm a better driver because I'm less impatient and because I now always expect there to be other drivers cutting me off during my trip.
They always use this comparison, right? For instance, you have $100,000 in your pocket, right? And somebody comes, knock into you and accidentally takes maybe $3 of your $100,000. You're left with what? Some $99,997, right?
Okay.
If, for instance, you have 100,000 seconds in your pocket and somebody takes away 3 seconds from you because he cuts you off, how can you be angry over that? If you lose $3... Yeah, but if you lose $3, you
are
probably won't feel the
completely
pain,
angry.
But just because you're on the road, because you're filled with people who are always in a rush, because you're filled with this very impatient culture where people are always rushing from point to point, whether or not it's because you didn't plan your route or whether or not it's because you have bad time management, you blame it on the traffic, and then people steal 3 seconds from you, and you start going bonkers.
That's right.
You see, on the point of you just mentioned about cutting in, a lot of people don't realize, especially on heavy vehicles, when a heavy vehicle leave a so-called distance from the front vehicle, it's because heavy vehicles tend to slow down very slowly when they brake, take a longer distance. So when somebody going to cut into it, he risking his own life in a way. If the vehicle going to stop at the back, heavy vehicle will stop.
Yeah.
He will hit into it.
Right.
But a lot of people don't understand the seriousness.
Yeah, so it comes
of
back
cutting
to
in.
our bad driving habits and, just abilities, right?
I mean,
we can't
anytime a
understand that.
cement mixer and me are, hit to hit, I know who's going to lose. It's going to be me.
Or a bus. Bernard, I think you mentioned this. One other thing is that you're increasingly seeing people who are inattentive because they are on their phones when they're driving. Do you think this is going to be a problem increasingly?
I think so, because we have so many gadgets
Yeah.
on our panel, getting more and more. So if the accident only happen in 2 seconds, so like the guy who hit somebody, right, who were looking at the GPS, don't know the way, and that's it,
But it still comes back to our mindset towards the way we behave on the roads. And I'll give you another example. A friend once told me, she was going to a car park, rushing to meet some friends. Or she wasn't rushing, but the car behind her wanted to overtake her. And eventually did in the car park, overtook her.
In
And
the car park?
In the car park, overtook her, right? And then they looked at each other. And they didn't recognize each other, but guess what? Later on, 10 minutes later, when they met at the gathering, they were both at the same gathering. Imagine. And that friend who overtook was so embarrassed by it all and said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happens to me when I'm driving. So I think just remember that, that sometimes we think we're anonymous, but yeah, what would you do? What would you say if you were the one to have that action of cutting someone off and then meet them face to face? What would you say to
I mean,
them? How would you
I
feel?
know someone who says she will never drive because she will be a monster if she does.
At least
So
she
you see-
recognizes that.
Exactly. So if you're self-aware, just take the MRT or the bus, and so it'll be easier for everybody. Okay, so any last, points you want to make before we close?
I think road safety is everybody's responsibilities. And I think we were on the road, we should look after ourselves and also to look after all the other road users.
Yep. Julian?
I think we need to pay attention a little bit more. I know life can be quite stressful and tiring in Singapore with work, family, so on and so forth. But we share the roads. You're not the only ones, Sometimes you got to put other people first. If you think about it, I mean, how much time are you going to lose, really? Right? So think about that, because it's always better late than never.
I think just remind ourselves when we're on the road, sometimes maybe play a more calm song. I don't know, Enya or something, right? But
Yeah.
but if we change our behavior, we affect the people around us as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't drive, as I said, as often as as I used to. And every time I drive, I have this sense that this is a huge responsibility, almost like as if it's a loaded gun that I'm carrying, because I could hurt somebody and somebody could hurt me.
That is true.
So that's how I think we could try and look at it. So, hopefully with more enforcement, or at least more awareness, more education, our driving culture can improve.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for listening to this episode. If you have something to share about your experience on the road, please get in touch with us. My thanks to the team behind the podcast as well, Tiffany Ang, Joanne Chan, Janani Johari, and Saya Win. Sound mixing is by Ken Delbridge. Till we meet next week, please drive safely.
Bye for now.